This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock, episode 395. I am the Doc, John Macaron. Joining me, as always, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Man, cuz, I'm not going to lie, even if the temperature outside is 48 degrees, I definitely soaked up the sun the last 48 hours.
I'm glad you have. I haven't. I heard it's nice. I don't even I see glimpses of sunshine that comes through this window when I sit on the third floor at this massive compound, just learning how to do all these things with all these different loans. I don't know what the sunshine feels like. Does it feel warm? Does it feel good against your skin?
Absolutely, the vitamin D throbbing, man. I absorbed it. I mean, I got to call up
vitamin D. Did you say throbbing?
Yeah, baby.
What kind of vitamin D are you talking about?
Well, the blessing is that I get the opportunity at least like 40 minutes because at least once a day somebody cancels on me. I get to go outside, and I've been taking 2-mile walks at least 3 times a week.
Oh,
and
look at you.
Yeah, got to get outside because it's good because I'm going strong, man. I'm working 10, 12-hour days. Sometimes you just got to say, screw it, put everything aside, put down the Twitter, put down the massive machine of sports and podcasting and SI and everything like that, and just go for walks and blast music, and it feels good. I got to call up Matt Ishbia and get you a better office, huh? It's okay. I know that you're working your way up, but I can make it happen for you. No worries. You got to get a bigger window. So wait a minute, you're not an executive yet? What's taking so long?
I just started.
So what? Be like, I'm Adam. I have experience. I want to move up. Tell him you want to move up within 2 weeks. See what he says. Tell him, look, I want to get in that photo. I like that. I seen that, after he made the contribution, I seen that to his left there was a nice photo in the paper of Mateen Cleaves. Mm-hmm. Nice photo of his boys. They're all executive. I like Mateen's. I like Mateen's title.
Charlie Bell, like that whole team works there.
Exactly. I like his title. Mateen Cleaves is the leadership guy. He tells you guys, let's go, baby. You got to come in here with that desire. If you don't want to be the best mortgage guy, it's just not going to happen for you.
So, look, I'm going to tell you a quick funny story. So my very first week, they introduced us to basically everybody. And Mateen was one of those guys that we got introduced to. And at the time, it's a very large group that's getting on board. It was over 500 people at the time. It's dwindled down a little bit because you have people that drop out or just end up leaving. But when Mateen was doing his whole thing, his whole little spiel about, I don't know, basically it was like his pump up speech for everybody. All these people in this group chat were like, oh my God, I'm so fired up. I'm so pumped up. Like Mateen came out there and he basically gave you like the halftime speech that your coach would give you when you're down by like 6 points in a state championship game. All these people were ready to run through a window for this man. It was nuts, man. It was crazy to me. I was like, all right, cool.
And there's Adam out there. United Shore Mortgage. United Shore Mortgage.
Right. I was leading the jumpers.
Yeah. Adam's like, man, being friends with the boss. Oh man, that's crazy stuff. But all I can do is respect the loyalty. You build $1 billion company. You want to keep your friends close. And like I said, I love that table. I can't stop thinking about it. Look at that picture.
Oh, that table is beautiful.
Absolutely.
It is beautiful.
What's it used for? Is it closing big deals or is it for day-to-day operations?
It is. It's for like meetings. So like it's almost like a conference room. Is basically what it is for. And you get like all the leaders and you get all the staff members. They basically sit around that table and they throw ideas at each other.
Yeah, and for those that don't know.
I'll be honest with you, man. It's a different place to work. Like it really is a different place to work. Like what they emphasize and what they've kind of put a value on. It's a little bit different. So it's not uncommon for like your average Joe to be in there and sitting across from Matt Ishbia.
Gotcha.
It's like that's a regular thing.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, Matt Ishbia has a nice conference room table, and it's got a big, huge green Spartan logo right smack dab in the middle, and you can't take your eyes off of it. So I would be in the meeting, and and Mr. Ishbia would be like, John, are you paying attention? I'd be like, no, dude, I'm just sorry. I dozed off for a second. I got distracted by this unbelievably beautiful Spartan logo in a big, huge conference room. It's absolutely amazing. So I got a question then. Who has more of a right to be in the conference room? Is it Mateen Cleaves Or is it Shelia Ford Hamp sitting in meetings with the Detroit Lions talking about players?
Man, I want to tell you that's a hard one, but it's not. It really isn't. Sheila owns the team. Come on,
That's
man.
right. Sheila owns
it's
the team.
her team. She can do whatever she wants to do.
Okay, it was such a fascinating story, cuz, to hear, because there's so much distrust that anything involving the Fords is going to cause a stir. Now, for me, obviously, I am very, very skeptical of the Detroit Lions and everything that they do. So when it comes to the day-to-day operations, the way in which I operate, which is very clear and transparent, is I'm not on the bandwagon of whatever they do is awesome. If Sheila does this, it's awesome. If Dan Campbell wants to do this, it's awesome. No, my definite goal and agenda in doing this job is to question why. Why is she there? Why is she involved? What is she trying to accomplish? And of course, she has a right to be there. But there was a piece of information.
So you're skeptical is what you're saying.
I'm skeptical in
should be.
Yeah, in regards to why is she weighing in? You know what I mean? And why is she? What kind of input is she giving? Obviously, the way I always perceive it is if the boss is in the room, obviously you're going about your business, you're doing things. But if Matt Ishbia walks into your office, and he's like, okay, show me your stuff, show me your clothes, you're gonna have a little bit of more, your heart pound a little bit more. You might be a little bit more on edge. I think that for the likes of Sheila, I get she wants to know her business. She wants to know it more. But here's the problem, and it's the funniest thing ever. She's learning about everything going on from Brad Holmes, first-time GM, Chris Spielman, first-time special assistant, first-time advisor, Dan Campbell, first time in his role. Yeah, they've had experience in it, but if you're really going to learn, it's probably should have been something you were pretty much doing with others as well. It shouldn't be at this point in time where you're learning. I know you weren't the owner, but you still were part of the team. You still maybe should have had a little bit more awareness of what's going on. But at the same time, I could also even make the argument why. I just need you to, sign the checks, make sure that Brad and Dan get along. You don't have to actually be because these are personnel meetings about offensive players and free agents and defensive free agents. She doesn't need to be there. I think that's just a little bit more like micromanaging to a degree. I think that the way in which I would operate if I was the owner is, okay, we meet a couple hours on a Friday. Tell me everything that happened this week. Give me the highlights. What are you guys thinking about players? All right. And that's it. I don't think I would be all up in there being like, I think you guys got to go out there and get John Johnson. What do you guys think? There's no way she's saying that. I just wonder if it involves cost, or maybe my hunch would be involving the type of player, making sure that, hey, make sure this guy absolutely, does he have anything going on in his personal life that could be a red flag? I think that's probably the extent of it. I don't care too much. I'm skeptical being in that, this whole new regime is all like kumbaya. I'm more of a type that's like, hey, this is where it is. I'm the guy. I'll tell you what you need to know and move on. But I think that's what Bob Quinn did, and it didn't really work out. So they're doing the whole kumbaya, everything going on. And plus, why is Chris Spielman revealing that he got his office moved? That's kind of weird. He had a great plush office, and then Sheila comes in and is like, oh, we used to have an ownership wing. Now I'm in the mix and I'm in the middle. And Chris, you go to the corner office there by the exit. Why is he saying that? I mean, nobody would ever know really where his office started at. And it just makes it seem like Sheila came in and brushed him aside. So while everyone got all up in arms, I don't think it's a big deal.
Hold on. You need to understand. Everything is calculated, right? Yeah. Everything is calculated. Like, he let that be known because he's trying to impress upon the fan base, impress upon the media that, hey, she's different. She's not like Mr. Ford. She's not like Martha. She's here. She's in the trenches, in the front office, doing the heavy lifting with us. She's here to learn. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole reason why she's involved in these meetings on a daily basis. She's trying to learn how to run this business. Imagine this, right? Imagine your dad owned a multi-billion-dollar business, and he unexpectedly passes away, goes to your mom. Your mom really has no clue what she's doing with it either. Your dad didn't really know what he was doing. Your mom really doesn't know what she's doing, but they have this business that is just a license to print money. Doesn't really matter how bad you screw it up. You still have people who show up every single week and give you their $70 to watch your team fail. And she's, I think, she's trying to impress upon everybody that she's going to be different. She's doing things a little bit different. She is trying to learn how this works from a front office standpoint, not just be the person who writes and signs the check, not just be the person who has to give the okay for a color scheme change, not be the person who, hey, you want the logo at the 50, you want the logo at the 25, where do you want this logo on the field? She's not trying to do all that. She's not trying to be just that person. She's trying to be there and really understand what Brad has to do, what Chris Spielman has to do, how the front office works with the coaching staff, how the coaching staff has 37 guys that are all head coaches, are all part of the coaching staff. Like, she's trying to learn all these things. So if something like Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia ever happens, and like, I think that should probably be the one thing we take out of this. It was so bad and it was so toxic with Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia that Shelia Ford Hamp has now changed the way she does business. She has done a complete 180 and flipped the script how she does business. She wants to be involved. She wants to know what happens, what takes place, how it all works. So if she has to make another decision, let's just say Brad Holmes doesn't work out after 5 years, she can broom him off to the side and she knows better what she's looking for. I don't think fans, and I don't think the general public should be all that up in arms, right? She's the owner of the team. She has a right to be in the room. She has a right to be in the meetings. If you the way you get up in arms is if you end up having a Mr. Ford, Joey Harrington type situation where we want the quarterback, you're going to draft the quarterback. And Matt Millen's like, I don't really think he's that great of a quarterback. And he's like, no, we need a quarterback. You want to go get this quarterback. I don't really think we should go after him. We should probably go after somebody else. And next thing you know, you're drafting Joey Harrington. All right. Joey Harrington might have been a good quarterback somewhere else. It just didn't work here for whatever reason. He got his bell rung. He had concussions after that. He was a different QB. No matter whatever. The thing is, as long as she's not doing that, as long as she's not in on personnel, just be there as much as she wants. And she can have a say in as much as she wants, but she can't be the reason that things are happening, right? Like, she can't be the reason that they're going to end up taking possibly a tight end at 7, right? Like, she can't be like, hey, we need weapons for Jared Goff. Go get me this tight end.
Right.
No.
No, that's not happening.
She can't be that person.
No, obviously, but that's the thing. She's 69 years old. That's the thing. If she was 40 and this was a different situation, obviously then it's different. But now at 70 years old and you've been in this, you've been around it, you're just learning it now, I think it's just more, there's more value. Because look, and here's where some of the fans had concern. You remember, and we joked about it, her mom, Martha, said, I love Jim Caldwell. So obviously Bob Quinn heard that, and most likely he wanted to please the boss and didn't come in right away year one and blow him out like he probably should have. That might have turned around the fortunes quicker and might have gotten the Band-Aid off, because the shock when he was fired just really reverberated all through that locker room and pissed off everybody. So for Shelia to do it, I absolutely understand she wants to know. But to what end? And it really doesn't speak to Shelia. It speaks to our debate really is what should be the role of an owner. Now, a young, viral owner that's just getting into it, that wants to learn, sure, he can have an involvement, but not to the degree of a Jerry Jones where he wants to be all in titles and to be the GM and want all the credit and to upstage the greats of the game. You don't want to be Jerry Jones. You want to be kind of in the background, someone who is there and available, but that's why you hire a Brad Holmes. That's why you hire people to kind of do that job. So for her to be there, it seems like it is this dog and pony thing more than what is she going to gain from being there and to talk about Jamal Williams from the Packers or John Johnson from the Los Angeles Rams or Jared Goff. What value is that? She's going to know, okay, fine. Bottom line, she's just getting told stuff. And I think you can be there. I think that in personnel meetings, she doesn't need to necessarily be there, because what if Brad Holmes and Dan are talking about a player like, hey, there's this guy, there's a running back that we really like, but man, we found out that, he kind of cheated in college. I really want him. What are we going to do? And then she raises an eyebrow. He looks over and he's like, shit, I can't get that player. He's not going to tell her that. he's going to be able to read the room and realize, shit, this is a player I could have gotten, but she's not on board with that. So that's why I believe Bob Quinn was just like, look, I'm the football guy. I don't need to be told anything. Just let me do my job and I'll be good. I think where he failed was he probably needed to have better communication with ownership to let them know along the way, every process, this is what we're thinking. What do you think about it? And probably eventually, maybe he even got sick of hearing some of the input that was coming back. Like maybe he wanted some things to happen that just didn't because of what ownership. And like I said, I'm still sticking to it this day. I truly believe that he didn't want Stafford. He didn't want to give the extension. He was told to. That's my honest opinion. I believe it because no one in their right mind would watch film of Matthew Stafford and then say, okay, I'm going to give you this much money. So that's why I think ownership needs to have at that level, at her level, where, you've been given a team, you've been handed a team from your family. You need to be aware, but you don't need to be in the meetings. That's my opinion. I think though, with how they chose to hire people, Brad Holmes is the guy that can navigate all this. He probably is well aware of this. He's seen this before and should have no problem being around the owner of the team. I mean, they're talking football. It's basically speed. It's talking about productivity, what the people like, and free agency with the Lions. The options are going to be real tight because in my latest for SIL Lions, I gave realistic goals in free agency. You're not spending a whole lot of money. You're trying to get guys on cheap deals, older veterans. Try to get them in here to be productive year one, so that you don't lose 14 games, that you only lose like 9 or 10, and that's just what it's going to be. So I think at the basic level, I think that yes, fans are overblowing it. But I think that this whole dog and pony show of look at this is just being done for PR to say, hey, she's involved, she cares, she's all about it. The value of what is being done is really going to start to take place in free agency and the draft. Who are the players they're going to get? And right now, cuz the draft and free agency is so juicy because there's some good names out there that could join the Lions in free agency, and we'll table that as we get closer. But the thing that it really has caught people's attention has been the draft and whether or not it's a quarterback. Do they take a bold, drastic move and take a quarterback? Is it Trey Lance? Do they actually do it? And I'll start with this because the big debate that's that's going on and being waged online is, should the Lions target an offensive weapon with number 7 with all their needs? Because there's a lot of them, and everyone is in their camps already. They're starting to form. The value of taking a wide receiver is completely unacceptable. You can't do that. No good teams do that. Yet there's great receivers from Alabama. You got great receivers from LSU, and then you got the quarterbacks. And then as the week progressed, starting to see some more mock drafts get released. There's a name that's come out and comparisons that have been made that are legendary. Kyle Pitts, tight end from Florida. Many believe he's just a flat-out stud wide receiver. Everyone's talking about, dude, this is a freakish athlete similar to Calvin Johnson. And everyone's like, wait a minute, I'm starting to see his name in the top 5, top 6. What if he's there at number 7? Do the Lions take another stab at a freakish athlete who's currently listed as a tight end, but could be paired with TJ Hawkinson? And now you have another target because everyone's starting to pay attention that Jared Goff loves their tight end based on the short intermediate passes that he ran out there in Los Angeles. Would you go crazy? Because you and I both were jaw dropped and like, really, they took TJ Hawkinson at that position? The value is not there. And he's not trending toward being the next, Gronk. He's serviceable, but not the best tight end in the game as of yet. So would you go crazy if it was Kyle Pitts? If that's the card that's handed in, that's the name that's read off, what would your reaction be? Because I think the fans of Detroit would go apeshit.
So there's a couple things you don't do when you're going through a rebuild. There's a couple things you do. So let's go over the things you don't do right away. All right. You don't take a tight end in your top 10. You just don't do it. Generally, tight ends, you can wait till either later in the first round, and I'm talking like the later third of the first round, or you can pick them up anywhere from 2 to even 7, round 7. You can pick them up anywhere. I don't believe that you draft wide receivers high either. So unless you are an absolute freak show like Calvin Johnson, I don't think you take a receiver in your top 10. I think you can usually go find, if your quarterback's good enough, you can usually go find a guy off a scrap heap and put him in, and he's going to get you yards and he's going to be productive. You can usually find a really good wide receiver in rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes even 6. So you can, those are two positions where I feel like you can kind of sandbag a little bit and you can kind of tank it a little bit. Now, what you do, because this team is so devoid of talent everywhere. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, where we both feel like their offensive line is probably the most shored up unit. But what you do is you take the best player available. Now, the Lions are in a weird spot this year, drafting at 7, where the best quarterback's obviously going to be gone. And you might not be in love with a quarterback that's left. And I don't believe you need to invest again in a running back. You've already invested a ton in running backs here with high second-round picks. So your defense is devoid of talent. So if the best player available is defensive, I think you have to take them at 7. Offensively, you could always add another offensive lineman, really shore up that offensive unit, make sure it's going to be fantastic. Or what you can do is, in this case, if the best player available, if you come to me and say, hey, the best player available, the guy who's going to be a certified Hall of Famer, barring any injury, it's Kyle Pitts. You take him. This is what I'm telling you, though. I won't like it. I will not like it. If you go wide receiver and you go tight end at 7, I'm going to be upset. I'll be a little bit happier if Kyle Pitts turns out to be what everybody is speculating him to be, but I'm not going to like it. And when we come back to talk about the draft, the day that, what is it? It'll be that Tuesday or that Thursday. No, it'll be the Thursday after the draft. We come back to kind of reevaluate what happened and what took place. I'm going to probably pan that first round pick. I'm not going to be pumped about it at all. But if you mean to tell me he is going to be Calvin Johnson, then I think you kind of have to take him, right? I mean, but the thing is, there's no guarantees. That's why I'm really scared about that assessment of him. That's why I'm nervous about taking that type of a player. I much rather go grab myself an interior defensive lineman, get me an edge rusher, get me that linebacker who's going to basically solidify and help bring my defense back together. You know, wide receiver, tight end, those skilled players, those skilled positions, you don't, at this point in the game, the Lions don't have the luxury to draft those guys. They don't have the wherewithal to do that. Like, you can't afford to make mistakes. That's the whole thing, right? This team isn't good enough. There's not enough talent on this roster to where if Kyle Pitts doesn't work out or doesn't provide you enough value every single game that you play, you're not in a position to really be able to mask that or cover that up. And honestly, a tight end, unless you're what, Kelsey, unless you're San Francisco's tight end, Kittle, unless you're a guy like that who's going to grab 12 receptions a game, I find it really difficult to see how you're going to really take a game over. Yeah, TJ Hawkinson's very good. Has a lot of comparisons to Tony Gonzalez, who's a Hall of Famer. And I think he might get there. We'll see what happens. But you took TJ Hawkinson way too early. And I hated it. And the thing is, has he really impacted a game? Has he really taken a game over and really helped you win anything? The answer is no. And if you want to point to that Atlanta game, you should have lost that Atlanta game. The only reason you were gifted that was because there was a big mistake by the running back. So I don't want to hear about how he caught a reception when he was wide open in the end zone. He hasn't revolutionized anything. He hasn't taken any over since he's been here. And a lot of you Stafford fans think that Matt Stafford's a Hall of Famer or should be a Hall of Famer, or at least is a pretty damn good quarterback. And he didn't do anything with him. Now you're probably going to go to a little bit of a downgrade here with Jared Goff, depending on how you feel about him. I think they're the same guy. I think they just do things differently. I don't think he's going to help make this team any better, at least not immediately. And I don't even think in the long term, because you can't get enough touches. That's why you can usually justify spending a first-round draft pick, at least a high one, on a running back, because they'll touch the ball 20 sometimes a game. If they're that good, they'll touch the ball that many times. I think the way this team and the way this organization has to go, you got to get grunt guys first. You build your base, build your foundation, get your grunt guys. And then you can add your specialty players in after.
Yeah, I think if they take Micah Parsons, I think that the linebacker out of Penn State, even though there might be some issues that have started to arise in regards to some off-the-field type stuff, I think that even though he opted out of the 2020 season, I think that he still can come in and be that guy that many people think could lead a defense and at least get around the field and make tackles and make plays and succeed, in coverage. So we'll see how this goes. But I do think if you just believe what Dan Campbell has been saying in the media, it does not appear quarterback is the answer, because they're looking like they want to build through the draft. They're looking like they want to get guys that can produce right away to field a competitive team.
Does that bother you?
No, because right now you got Jared Goff for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a generational quarterback in this year's draft? No. Trey Lance is a project. I could see them taking a stab at it, but does he bring you a return right away? No. So I don't see them taking this person because of the fact that doesn't have enough experience yet. So I don't think you take a raw quarterback.
I don't think you do it either, right? But I wanna kind of put you in a little bit of a box here. So just play along with me for a minute. What if his comparables come back as Patrick Mahomes?
Oh my God!
What if they go to his pro day and he does everything right? He basically, line for line, matches, if not is better than Patrick Mahomes. At that point, because he should be there at 7. Looking at how everything's kind of working out, he should be there at 7. The only way he's not there at 7 is unless Carolina jumps you and they feel the same way about him that everybody else felt about Patrick Mahomes, or whomever felt about the Kansas City felt about Patrick Mahomes. That's the only way he's not there.
See, I just struggle to believe my cognitive brain struggles to believe that Patrick Mahomes would be sitting there at number 7 and the Lions take him, and then he turns out
there at what, 10 or 13? When did Patrick Mahomes go?
Yeah, but that's a different organization, and obviously when the Chiefs and an offensive mind like Andy Reid looks at it, you give him some credibility, but the Detroit Lions tapping into that and getting lucky and having a player that has a little bit of inexperience come in and actually be that and rated as that, and then come in and earns the job and looks the part and then turns out to be the whole kit and caboodle, that would be awesome. But we're really at this point kind of, the metaphor I'm going to use is you're taking a bunch of chips and throwing it on number 3 at the roulette table and then hoping it hits number 3. Odds are it's not. So the one time maybe it does, you hit a gold mine, but I don't think so. I think that you wait and you try to build around and you wait for that draft of a quarterback, and maybe you try to find someone maybe that you believe is a gamer in the 5th or 6th round, because the greatest quarterback of all time was taken way down in the draft and was not even close to being considered a first-round pick. So I don't think so. I just don't think that he's going to get that grade right away with what he brings. Good quarterback. I think he'll be successful, but I don't think he's going to rate out as one of the elite quarterbacks of all time. Because if you think that that's a person that's there, if you think it's Zach Wilson, you pull the trigger and you trade some of these first-round picks and you go up to number 2 and you make the Jets an offer they can't say no to, and you get the best of the best. You don't wait for the 4th option and then pray that he becomes a generational talent. I just don't see it. I think you need to start right away, and you just start building. And if you're not going to take someone right away, if you want more value, you trade down.
I mean, this is where your comparables kind of come into, right? So Trey Lance, obviously mobile quarterback. Patrick Mahomes has some, we'll call it some wiggle. Definitely doesn't score as many touchdowns with his legs as Trey Lance does. But both of these guys really good at making decisions with the football. Trey Lance in his college career threw a grand total of 1 interception. 1 interception. Threw 30 touchdowns. Granted, it was over the course of 19 games only, and this season he only played 1 game. And in that game he threw for 50%, which not very good. But if you look at his career, He throws for about 65%, 30-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and he can make things happen with his legs, scoring 18 touchdowns. I think Mahomes and him are very comparable.
Look at you, draft scout. Okay, I'll throw it out there.
I'm just saying, going by statistics, I think they're comparable.
Okay.
Now look, I'm nervous about Trey Lance myself, and I think we should probably save some of this talk for
we will
for a draft show that we'll end up doing. But I don't know if Trey Lance is the guy. If Brad Holmes falls in love with Trey Lance and comes out and is like, look, this is the guy who we believe could be the future of the NFL, could be the future of this organization, I'm going to go with him. I'm going to trust him.
Come on, cuz this is Doc and Jock. Let's keep it real. If he goes to the Giants, he'll be Patrick Mahomes. If he comes to the Lions, he'll be Joey Harrington. He'll be gone in 2 years. Come on, let's keep it real.
It's probably what it'll be.
There's no way Trey Lance gets to get evaluated, come here, steals a job, and becomes Patrick Mahomes. We need that. That would be a miracle. We deserve to see it. But do you remember when Mahomes was drafted though? Right.
Like I think everybody thought the Chiefs were out of their mind.
And he's legendary, right? And he's legendary.
And they traded up to go get him.
Exactly.
And like, what are the Chiefs doing?
Exactly. Legendary pick. One of the legendary moves made in the annals of the National Football League. Let's see what the Detroit Lions do and see what they need to accomplish in this year's draft because replacing Matthew Stafford is going to be absolutely a challenge. And we talked about it last week. And we said we'd wrap it up and have the discussion, and it's going to be a good one. And then I do want to talk about real quickly the Tiger Woods story because it's crazy. It's one of the biggest stories in sports, so we got to talk about it. And then in the second half of the podcast, we'll break down Michigan, who had an unbelievable game over the weekend. All kind of good ratings, all kind of good juju vibes. It was awesome to see, and Michigan basketball definitely deserves it. But we're
doing a 3-hour show today.
Oh no, we'll get it all in there, baby. Listen, this is great. I love to have topics, man. It's great. It's good stuff. It's. I got nowhere to be. You?
No, just here with my dog. That's all.
That's it. So with Matthew Stafford, what we got into was, and it really hits to what Teddy Bruschi said because, and I truly believe everybody took his comments and ran the wrong way with it. Which when you see the comments and you read them with your eyes and don't believe the narratives of all the fanboys and all the people that are like, oh, it's all great with Stafford, he's great, What Teddy Bruschi said, which Cam Newton said after he got berated at a camp, is he sat down and had a nice video interview, and he said that with the Patriots, it's a daily commitment to excellence. Daily. Meaning that from the day you put on pads to the day you take them off, it's go time. And the mental grind that is, meaning that on day one, when Tom Brady would throw a football and he missed the target, his ass was getting chewed out. That's what was happening. And what that meant was it is such a commitment to excellence where if you run a 3rd down and 4 and you're supposed to go 3.5 yards out and you're supposed to cut and then make the move and you go 3.2 yards, they're going to stop, and they're going to do it again, and they're going to do it again and again and again until it's done right, consistently, repeatedly, until it's muscle memory. That's what was being talked about from Teddy Bruschi, that he looked at Stafford and said, dude, Matt Patricia broke your ass probably in the first practice. You're all crying, and you're all sitting there talking about this and that and having a problem with Matt Patricia in year one. You come over here to New England and you want to take them off the list. You don't think they're going to win? It's New England. How do you think that? So what Teddy Bruschi's saying is that, look, Matthew Stafford is not mentally tough enough to handle the grind of 365 days of committing to excellence, to throwing the ball and then having it picked apart to the degree that it's got to be perfect. And I absolutely agree with that. Is he physically tough? Absolutely. Is he a warrior? Everybody's a warrior that plays football. Does he play through extreme pain? Absolutely. Did he do his due diligence to play for the Detroit Lions? Absolutely. But if you had a chance to go to the Patriots and you choose to go to the Rams, I can respect that, but I also understand the point of view that, you know what? He looked at it from the perspective of playing with the Lions where he was the star. Everybody would ask him every Wednesday, what's going on? What's with this? What's with that? He wanted to go to a place that had more players, that had an Aaron Donald, that had a defense that's ranked in the top 5, that has a running game, that has an offensive mind. He did not want to be the focal point of a team. And even though the quarterback is always the focal point, the take is he went out to LA to be a cog in the wheel of a team to get them over the hump. In New England, he might have had to be the Tom Brady, which would have been an epic failure. And he even knows it. He knows he's not going to carry because he couldn't carry the Lions, who had weapons, who had Marvin Jones, DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson, Jesse James. You had it here. And the lights weren't even that bright. It was like 80. In LA, the lights are like 40. There's no pressure. If he doesn't get it done, they'll turn a blind eye and go about eating their tofu cupcakes. Okay, so he goes out there and he wants to be a cog in the wheel of a machine that's already established. And for that, I would not give him as much respect if they won as if he would have gone to New England, where I can't even name right now a wide receiver on their team. I really can't. So in that aspect, I absolutely validate what Teddy Bruschi said.
I agree with you. This is the thing. I think Matt Stafford, and whether it's the organization's fault here in Detroit or whether it's Matt Stafford himself, I don't think Matt Stafford was ever challenged. I think that's part of the reason that you got away with some years very lackluster quarterback play. Matt Stafford, we both agree, is a good quarterback, right? He's somewhere in between, 17 to maybe 8 or 9. All right. But the thing is, he's not a guy that is going to take over your team and is going to make them a winner, right? You can look at the way Tom Brady conducts himself. And I know it might be apples and oranges comparing Matt Stafford to Tom Brady. But if you look at Tom Brady, there'll be games where you have a wide receiver who's supposed to run a certain route a certain way, and the ball will be there, but the receiver won't be there. Brady is in his face, yelling at him, screaming at him, saying, "What are you doing? What are you seeing? Why aren't you running the route this way? This is what we practiced. This is what we talked about." Even going through it this year, think about this. This is probably the craziest thing about this Super Bowl run that Tampa Bay just went on. Tom Brady goes into Tampa, very first season. Yeah, he brought some of his boys with him, like Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski. But for the most part, he had a brand new wide receiving core, and he had to, for the most part, learn a new playbook. And yeah, they kind of met in the middle, and they kind of meshed some of the things that he knows and some of the verbiage that he utilizes and some of the plays that they wanted to run. But he had to get everybody on that offense on the same exact page. And you've seen it when it came time for the Super Bowl. Brightest lights, on the same page, hitting passes, connecting with guys. Matt Stafford's not the same guy, not the same quarterback. He's never been challenged. He's not tough in that way. He is physically tough. The guy he's a dude who can play with a broken back and play with mangled hands. He is physically tough, but he is not a tough quarterback when it comes to mentally breaking down the game, when it comes to really driving for the most out of yourself. It's like he's never been challenged. And I just keep going back to that. This is something that me and B got into an argument about on one of our very first ever practice squad podcasts. I claim that the Lions never drafted anybody to challenge him.
Right.
And
Why?
they never did.
It makes no sense. Why? What is he going to get? Look, and then now the first time that you could actually make the argument that now the Lions need him the most. You weren't the guy that was going to lead a rebuild. Hey, maybe if you stick around and you just wait one more tough year, you also potentially can be here when it gets revived. He basically spit in the organization's face and said that, hey, I don't believe you guys are going to win for the next 5 years, is in essence the code of what he said. And so he wanted to, obviously, look, you can't blame him. He wants to go out there and compete and wants to be part of something.
For sure.
He wanted less pressure. That's what I think. The pressure now got to be the hottest point, and he was going to basically stare down the barrel.
He didn't want to, in his going away piece with Mitch Albom.
He didn't want to coach up.
He's like, I don't want to be the guy to have to carry this team.
Right, exactly. He said it. And obviously, because the team is going to basically look for a quarterback in the next year or two, he didn't want to have that indignation of having to potentially talk to his replacement. So this is how it went down. But I do think it's going to work. I think that he might fit best in that scenario. But like I said, we have more respect and more admiration for guys like Aaron Rodgers and for Tom Brady because they elevate those around him. So I can't blame him if he went the LeBron route. LeBron has his rings. He's blinged out. If Stafford gets his ring, I won't blame him, but I won't revere him like many of the fans do because of the fact that he went and clammed onto another team. He didn't do it with the team that drafted him. Like you said, you wanted to do. Your dream was to come to Detroit and bring us a winner. And before the trade is even official, you're already putting on Rams gear and dressing your kids up in Rams gear. The trade is not official, and you're out there rocking out the Rams gear already. You're already out there going to L.A. quite a bit. So I get it. I understand it. But I think that's the take that we had was he's going to be a cog, less pressure. L.A., please. I think it suits him, and probably he'll be and actually he'll go out there, and unless the Rams win, I don't think people will really know who he is. You know what I mean? The NFL, the Rams, I think they're picking up steam and things like that. But in L.A., with all of the things going on, he might just be in the right spot where he can be the low-key athlete on a big team and doing the thing. But, man, because when we're done, Google SoFi Stadium. Oh, my God. It is a palace. NFL Network's going to run out of there. It looks amazing. It's going to be an amazing facility, one in which it's so good the Lions and the Rams are going to play. I might want to go out there. I'll decide, but we'll see because I'm a terrible flyer. But the SoFi is so amazingly well put together that it's already starting to dwarf what's going on at Ford Field. All right, real quickly with Tiger Woods. What an unbelievable situation that happened for Tiger. And it's obviously a stretch of highway in California that's caused a bit of problems before. Thankfully, no drugs in his system. The coverage has been wild. I mean, I assumed it. I haven't dug too much into it. I assumed that there would be wild speculation, all types of inaccurate information. First, it was the jaws of life. Then it wasn't the jaws of life. Then it was something in his system. Then it wasn't in his system. And then there's so much information that what happens in this situation, and I can understand it, is everybody's dying to be first because that's where the eyeballs go. And accuracy just goes out the window. They don't care. They're just like, let's just throw it out, and let's just say that jaws of life were there because someone tweeted it. And they write it, and everybody puts the person's tweet in there. And those that are measured and accurate, it's the right thing to do. But more times than not, if you are measured and wait the extra 2 hours, somebody else has already written 3 other stories. And that's the problem with so much competition, is the reason why it takes place, I now understand, is that a lot of times, because you know it, if I think of an idea, it's already been out there. Like, I'll talk to Vito and I'll say, okay, I'm thinking about this. And he'll be like, oh, Doc, I'm busy. I'm hanging out with my family. Something's going on. I'll be like, no worries. We'll get it up tomorrow. Within half an hour, it's written somewhere else because there's so many outlets, so many people writing all the same thing that literally I was telling Vito, I'm like, yeah, eventually maybe we'll get to the point if I think it, we just write it. But we're doing well enough that we don't have to do that anymore. We did it in the beginning phase of this. Now we have an audience. We don't have to keep doing it like that. But in this situation, the coverage was crazy. I'm just thankful that he's going to be okay. But unfortunately for Tiger, no Masters, not going to play on the PGA Tour in 2021. And it's just another crazy story in the life of a guy that once his life went left has just had a myriad of injuries, bad things happening, and you just feel for the man at this point.
I mean, honestly, his career might be over. He just had another back surgery.
Compound fracture.
Right. After this, it sounds like his ankle, it just the one, but still his ankle was broken in multiple places. So, I mean, if you've golfed, I've golfed, you know that you do need some flexion in that ankle. You got to be able to roll it over so you can hit your driver, or you at least hit some of your clubs. So, look, if he's able to get back out on the links and he's able to hit the ball, I think he should be extremely thankful. It's crazy to think that this was the guy that was handpicked to beat Nicholson's record, right? This was the guy who was supposed to be the guy. And it just hasn't happened. And I don't know if it'll ever happen. I don't know if that record will ever fall. I think it'll probably be what it's going to be, because I think at the time, Tiger was the guy, right? He was the guy. And I think he was the guy who really introduced a lot of what you're seeing go on right now. I feel like golf at this moment in time, we don't talk about it a lot here, but I think golf at this moment in time is
doing okay,
probably at its most competitive.
Yeah. A lot of competition, a lot of good stuff going on. Absolutely.
I mean, you got so many young guys, and like, if you're not driving the ball 310 yards, what are you doing? You got DeChambeau out there crushing it at like 410, 415. So it's absolutely crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just you feel for the man. Thankfully, no drugs in his system. Thankfully, he walked away alive, and it just goes to show you that more will come out. We'll definitely keep a tabs on it, but it's just a wild story in California. You got to be safe on that stretch of highway. If I remember from what everybody talks about, man, those photos were tough to see, and especially with what he could have accomplished, to see the bright light kind of flicker out like this. And the good thing is, I'll say this before we talk about Michigan, at least he had his redeeming moment by winning the Masters. And I think for a lot of people that humanized him, and now seeing him golf with his son, I think the shift has now started to turn to humanize the man. He's not this caricature of himself anymore. It's just unfortunate that the thing that we most know him for, the ultimate competitor, now is just something different. It's just he's going to be one of the guys, and we just hope that his recovery goes well and that he can maybe have one or two more shining moments, and then potentially now we'll start to pay attention to his son because like 5-6 years, this kid will be dominating the amateurs and he'll be next. It's just going to come real fast in this decade, which is crazy. And we'll be here for it. Absolutely. I think we'll be in episode 700 by the time he's doing his thing in the amateurs. Now, a squad that's going to do their thing right now, right here in 2021 is Michigan. Bro, that performance against Ohio State, just absolutely quality. Not too many times I get a chance to sit top to bottom, start to finish, play by play, pass by pass to see what was going on. I watched that game start to finish, and I was thoroughly impressed. Dickinson is a man among boys. They got the outside shooting. They got the guard play. Great transition. Now, they can work on their defense, but by and large, Michigan's play was so quality, was so high level, that it's worthy of being a team. The Wolverines are worthy of being a squad that gets to the Final Four. Do I think they stack up against Gonzaga and Baylor? No, but that's just top level. That means that you got to play your A game. Can they compete? Absolutely, but they'd have to make shots. They'd have to, really defend and rebound and play a quality 40 minutes. But kudos to Juwan Howard to go to Ohio State and play a ranked team and to dominate and to have the ability to make key shots late when you needed to and not blink when Ohio State was making their comeback, to hunker down on defense. It was so awesome to see. Now the expectations are raised, and the Michigan program in basketball should expect a nice deep run in the tournament.
Absolutely. And it's not just what they did on defense during that game. That final stretch there, I think it was the final 2 minutes, they didn't miss a shot. I think there was one stop that Ohio State had on them. So like when they needed to score to really stretch that game out and put it away, they were able to come through in what the Lions would deem dagger time. And legitimately they were hitting daggers. So it's one of those things where this is amazing. Like, I remember when Juwan Howard was hired, I don't think either one of us were extremely happy about it or overly impressed by it. And that's most of that was just because I was a Beeline guy. Like, I bought into what Beeline was doing. I didn't have a huge issue with Juwan coming in. He didn't have the experience level. And I was just kind of like, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is going to work. Comes in, puts together a really, really good staff. And he has done a fantastic job with this team. They're playing such a high level, high caliber basketball. It's unreal. And it's not like it's one of those things where you only have 5 guys, right? You like, once one of those guys go down, oh no, what are you going to do? No. This roster is deep. They've got guys that they can pull in off the bench and are going to put points up, and they're going to help carry this team during stretches when the starters are either not hitting shots or in a little bit of a lull or a funk. It's really, really crazy the way that this team has been constructed and put together, and he's done it in what seems like a very short amount of time. And this is an absolutely crazy season. I think if you're a Michigan fan, you need to start raising your expectations. It should be Final Four or bust for this team. Right now, they are going to get a number 1 seed in whatever bracket, whatever division they get put in. This team looks so Cinderella right now. It's unreal. It needs to be Final Four or bust. I won't ever tell you have to go win the championship, right? Winning a championship is hard. It's incredibly difficult, and a lot of it has to do with playing styles and who you're going to match up against. But to get to the Final Four is an absolute honor in college basketball. And I think if you're a Michigan fan, you should be expecting that right now. Yeah. This team is unreal to watch.
Absolutely. And it's going to be fun to watch, too, as we dive into it further. Big Ten tournament, the seeding, the hype, and then, because everybody knows it, the final 2 games, home and home versus Michigan State. I think they're going to split. I got a good feeling that Michigan State will learn from, I think the first game will be a blowout. I think Michigan will dominate. They'll handle their business, and then Michigan State will learn from it and have a real close game. Maybe they'll lose both, but based on their performance, I think that it's going to be 2 fun games. And look at the gauntlet that Michigan State's got to go through. At least they got the victory over Illinois. It's not out of the question yet. And to tie it all together, Matt Ishbia went on a podcast and said, no, don't discount the Spartans. They'll be in the tournament. And they're playing more physical. They're figuring out their rotation, getting a little bit healthier, recovering from COVID. You never know. Maybe they do pull off a series of wins here that raises eyebrows. Don't discount Michigan State just yet. Tom Izzo might have his streak broken, but they're going to go down fighting.
Yeah, this is what's crazy. Izzo does this every year. Like, this team looked completely lost. Thought for sure they wouldn't stand a chance against a ranked Illinois team. Next thing you know, they pull out a big win. And they're right back in the conversation of making it into the tournament. Yep. It's crazy how Izzo does this with all of his teams. Yeah. And it's just it's nuts to me. This
year might be too late, though. You never know because of the talent and COVID. And I think it might be more than that.
Here's the thing, though. They're a blue blood, right? Yeah. Like, when you break it down, they are a blue blood. Michigan State basketball is right up there with the likes of Kentucky, right up there with the likes of Duke. If there's going to be a tournament, and on top of it, Izzo has, 23 years of making it? There's no way the committee keeps him out for a 24th. He's going to have to go on another one of those losing skids where he's dropping 2 and 3 games back to back in order for him not to make it. If this team wins out for the rest of the regular season and they win 1 or 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, he'll get in. They won't be seeded very high, but they'll get in.
Oh, okay. Now, I'll say this. In true Doc and Jock fashion, we do have to do a maturity check here because it was talked about on the radio, and it's funny. At the presser, which I was a part of, and everybody could see. Now, I don't know if the person was talking about me, but Stoney did bring it up, that Michigan State coach, head coach, esteemed basketball coach, Tom Izzo, mentioned one of the players by name. We've joked about it off air, but the gentleman's last name is spelled Cockburn, which, spelled phonetically is Cockburn. But that's not how it's said. It's pronounced Coburn in the professional world. But then Tom Izzo comes on and he's like, man, I was so trying to figure out how to stop this big guy. Cockburn was doing this thing. And he said it. And I was not alone in my chuckling of hearing his emphatic description of the gentleman's name. Was it wrong to laugh at Tom Izzo calling, the Illinois, massive baller Cockburn? Because I just thought it was funny. And if you want to see it, it's on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. As you see, I slyly hit it under there as a talk about physicality, but it's just an excuse to have Tom Izzo say it twice in a Twitter video. I laughed. Stoney caught it. He's like, people were laughing when he said it. I wasn't the only one, but I thought it was funny.
So you laughed in the presser. You laughed out loud in the presser.
No, I didn't laugh out loud. It was on mute. I'm on a video on Zoom.
Oh, okay. I mean, as long as you don't laugh out loud in the presser. See, I think it would be really, really hard if we were doing sports like the way we used to do it in like 2019, 2020, where like you're there in the room and he says it. Like, at that point, you're going to snicker and you're going to giggle like a little girl. I don't think there's any problem with laughing about it. It's funny. Cockburn's funny.
It is funny. It is. and then the funny part is, too, he didn't know his name. It's like, how do you not, like, it's like, okay, who told you that that's how it was pronounced? So I thought it was funny. Good. And that's how it is. Sports is not serious. It's fun. And that's the way I'm always going to take it. It's late at night. You're relaxing. You're watching a win. And so you hop on. And thankfully, like I said, no, it wasn't like belly laughing. It was just a smirk. Because like I said, he said it once, then he said it again. Cockburn. And it's just funny.
Plus, Izzo has he has his own little way he kind of talks. Like, he's got his own little Izzo accent.
Yeah.
So that makes it even funnier.
Exactly. That's just the way in which it came out just was funny to me. So you just have to do the maturity check every once in a while. So good. I passed that time. Won't pass it the next couple times that we do the maturity check, but hey, that's how it is here at Doc and Jock. Thanks, everybody, for downloading. We greatly appreciate the support over the last 8 years. It's been amazing. Make sure you go to wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You hit Detroit Sports Podcast. You hit that subscribe button, and our daily content will find you. Running stuff basically Tuesday through Saturday these days, and then daily content in the world of Detroit sports, covering Michigan, covering all things that are relevant to Detroit sports. And we're so happy that you have made us part of your Detroit sports family. Make sure to follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Make sure you follow. It's quality entertainment. It's daily. It's funny. Pick our brains. Get in with love, hate. Tell us you love us. Tell us you want to sign us. Tell us whatever you want to tell us. We'll read it, and we definitely appreciate it. And I really, from the bottom of our hearts, you've made us part of the community, and we know when we delay a release or something, one of you guys will be like, hey, where is it? And we love it because of the fact that you're dependent on your information all across the country, and we're here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network to give you the good audio content, and we're very proud of it. Thanks, cuz. Thanks for spending the hour with me. It was, if you know, a tougher time in February is usually tough for me, but doing these broadcasts covering sports takes my mind off of all tough things. And you're a big part of it, and I appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed that the hour I spend with you on Wednesday and Thursday, best hours of the week. And much appreciated. Thank you.
I like how you just buttered me up at the end of the show. That's great.